champion, something that gets bullied out by the Orianna for their mid laner early on. Varus is still open here, though. That was one of the bans that's been dropped.
So is Kai'Sa for Gala, though. That is very worthwhile to note. As we've talked about, a legendary Kai'Sa player. I imagine that we might see that come through in the first half of picks, unless IG just determine, hey, you know what? We don't need it. We need something else out of that role. But that first pick, Varus, gives you that early aggression, gives you good utility late, no escapability, but that's okay. Peyz will just have to allow his mechanics to carry him.
Yeah, I do think that taking the Kai'Sa into the Varus is a bit of a death sentence. It can be really punishing early on, and by the time that it gets to being on an even keel, the Varus can have probably just ran away with the game. Jhin, though, one of these better AD carries at making the most of a Varus's lane and trying to go toe-to-toe with him in that instance. Again, Aurora, one of these picks that for IG specifically is a flex. We've seen TheShy play this a couple of times. Typically does find itself in the hands of Rookie, but they're not above moving it into that top lane if it's a really good top matchup for the Aurora to go into. We need to take a look at now what it is that JDG are going to look to bring to the table as well. They see this Aurora. They can't do the Annie Wukong pairing, which we see be so prolific, but they do still have, you know, a couple of AD champions still to go into that jungle role. I do think that Xin Zhao in this draft actually has a pretty high priority. We've got Vi and Pantheon off the board. We already see Wukong and Trundle taken away as well. So if you wanted to go for that Xin Zhao, it does give Jun that early game power. Instead, they opted to give Wink another engage tool, something maybe a little bit more consistent with being in the mixer and getting yourself into a real position of threat. And this Rel getting locked in here.
And some of the big disengage options to go against a Rel are gone, right? The Alistar is not available. The Braum that would be able to stun her up, knock her up, make her engage kind of useless. Not going to be available. IG looks like they're going to settle on themselves on a jungler here. It's going to be the Jarvan that has risen up in priority a little bit. This champion was really not seen too often at all through the first 2/3 of the year. Now getting picked up here. It's a pretty nice combo with an Aurora.
Yeah, and importantly as well, versus these JDG carries, neither one of them have got spells of their own to get out of a Cataclysm. Importantly, they're reliant very heavily on that flash spell. If they don't have that, then they're going to struggle. As we move into, though, this second round of bans, that jungle pool you can already see being pinched by IG. The Xin Zhao getting taken off the table. We could even see Nocturne removed as well if they want to really pinch that AD pool. And, you know, if they want to remove the power for them to dive into that full dive composition. For JDG, their idea is to get rid of some of those support picks that are still up and available. Maybe Nautilus gets taken out by away from Meiko next time round. Top lane notably absent for both of these sides, so getting to see whether or not that, you know, Ornn gets locked in once again. We've still got Sion open if people want to opt into a more tanky style, but importantly, Rumble is still open, and with that Galio ban and the Jarvan open for IG, well, Rumble's not open, sorry, they played it in game number 1. But if they look for something in that top side that could go for that AP threat, they've got a really good damage profile here for Invictus Gaming.
See what the option will be. It looks like they're going to keep the flex open here with this Aurora, as it'll be a lock-in of Rakan here, looking to run amok with this Jarvan and just keep the Annie, keep the Varus on downtime here. Now, the question is, what jungler are we going to see for Shun here? Because they took out a couple more aggressive options. We've been seeing the comeback come through here in the jungle role with Nefiri, but it looks like they will at least think on it a little bit more, as it'll be Renekton top for Xiaoshu.
Yeah, okay, so blind, safe, stable pick on that top side for Xiaoshu, and means that there's an opportunity now to set up for a dive style champion in that top side, and Nefiri can do that here with her ability to get in, get out from under those turrets quite quickly. Locked in for Jun. I remember seeing him in split number 2 have a very solid set of performances on this champion, so not out of nowhere here. As we do get to see now, again, IG with this flex capability, at least teasing the idea that this Aurora can go into the top side. Again, reminder that TheShy has played this time and time again, and as that clock whittles down, they do pivot. They opt into this massive wombo combo and into giving TheShy now a lot more agency in this game. He's now got this Aurora to take into the top side to try and dance to skirt around Xiaozhu and see if he can now punish with a massive combo between both himself with the Aurora in between worlds, that Chaos Storm as well that will come through from Rookie. IG with a very good level 6 teamfight composition. JDG with a little bit more again, needing to wait just that slight time longer, it feels like. 2 items coming through for the Varus, maybe the second one for Scout as well. But I do actually think that by and large, JDG might have a pretty decent mid-game spike to hit at as well. Those level 6 fights should feel a little bit better.
Yeah, we're going to need to see big tibbers, big chains of corruption coming out for JDG, because some of the IG targets, very easy to kill. They are not very tanky at all. Jarvan gets a little bit of health later on, but wouldn't really be considered a tank. Rakan, one of the squishier supports, obviously gets some health later, but still not a tank. You can blow these guys up in the early game and take a lead from there. One of the big worries that I have is in this top lane, because I think TheShy on the Aurora could take over the game if he is left completely unchecked. But I don't think that Xun and Xiaoshu have the capability to actually kill him unless he makes a large mistake.
Oh, I think that's actually my most worried about area for IG. I think that this Aurora in the 1v1 is probably going to be fine, but if he gets a wave stacked on him and gets dove under the turret, I think there's very little that the Aurora can do between getting stunned from the Ruthless Predator into a full Neferi combo. Definitely will struggle as we do end up loading up onto the Rift here for game number 2.
That's tough. There's even less people. They're like, I'm embarrassed after that first game. We'll see if JDG can bring those people back and bring the Gyos in strong for game 3, or if IG will take a clean 2-0 over a team that is expected to contend for some of the top spots here in the LPL. Nothing too crazy here in the early game, just a couple of wards, a little bit of feelers out there, but TheShy will sit in that top lane brush.
So to hammer back into our jungle matchup again here, Yanni, similar sort of looks, honestly. I think that for Wei this time round, I want to be highlighting how well he burns flashes of these immobile carries early on. We've got Scout and Peyz, 2 champions that rely very heavily on their flash if we're looking at how well they can get out of Cataclysm. So make sure that you burn those flashes early doors, and then when level 6 rolls around, let's see if you can find a move and try and punish them for not having that summoner spell which you burnt previously. For Xun, it's about doing anything more than he did in game number 1. It's about hoping that he can have an impact on this Neferi and start making some plays a little bit more aggressively than we saw from the Wukong.
Yeah, and JDG, they're going to have to respect Wei a little bit more this game, because they clearly did not show a lot of respect to the Trundle that can just walk up to you, and a Jarvan can get on top of you much, much easier. So we'll see if they have decided to right their wrongs coming into this game, as the bot lanes do hit level 2 on each of them, but not expecting too much here unless Wink sees a really good angle.
Yeah, I mean, the Varus and the Jhin, 2 champions that, for me at least, can kind of go blow for blow. In that bot lane role, as we do glance over at the mid lane, I'm a fan of seeing the versatility that we're going to get to see from Rookie, as he had a very good Silas performance, but now has an opportunity to do it on a control mage, and I do think that versus an Annie in particular, this Victor has a very favourable matchup. The Lays are able to poke out the Annie from a longer range than she can really contest, and then when you do get sort of into that close range confrontation with the Annie, you can put the Chaos Storm, the Gravity Well down, and very easily trade back effectively up against Scout in this situation. So Rookie's been blessed here with this matchup. I do think he's got a pretty good opportunity through the early stages, and I think that for JDG, for them to be able to do really anything more than we saw from them in game number 1, I'd like to see it come from that top side. You've picked this Renekton. It also now happens to be up against a pretty squishy mage in that top side. So let's see if you can actually have an impact and give Xun a way to start progressing himself in this game more so than we did in game number 1.
The junglers on the sides, they're pushing lanes, and Wei is going to head up top here. He's going to pop the Scryer's plant, see that there are no jungle camps, and then walk it out. And if he came up, that ward from Xiaoshu would spot anything out immediately.
Both teams looking for potential dives here, especially on this bot side. IG in trouble.
Gala in a little bit of trouble. He's just kind of caught up here. He's going to be able to flash away, but the root's going to go on to Wink, and Shun is going to be able to flash out, and he gets first blood.
Really well played by JDG down on this bot side. Crashing a wave under the turret, taking down Gala, and even with cleanse available, Peyz going to have to do a bit of a long walk back. Rookie even trying to defend a little bit against this by moving down to that bot side. He isn't going to lose too much because he will take the wave down here. But it looks like a bit of a wave lost in the mid lane, and as you would expect, Gala now in a pretty rough spot.
Yeah, not great for him to kick this thing off. The good news is he will still be useful. These roots will be able to come through with the poke that comes out from Rookie and TheShy. And for JDG, Shun is on the board much, much faster than that first game. He kind of feels like he woke up a little bit and decided that he was going to play some League of Legends.
Yeah, I think game number 1 was a really big wake-up call for probably the majority of JDG, as you know, that they sort of sat back, had their game dictated to them, and it wasn't a nice story that they got written. So they've now got this opportunity in game number 2 to stop that from happening again, and it's good to see that already there are some positive moves being made. Still waiting for Wei to have that first early impact, but he did spend that time collecting a little bit more farm. He's now a camp or so ahead over Jun, going to look to steal away these Raptors as well. And you can see on the minimap here, Rookie putting a ward down to defend the Raptors in response. So he's going to have a little bit of a chance to keep his job and just that very small amount up in terms of experience. But obviously for Jun, who took the first kill, he's more than happy with that as a trade.
So we talked about how important level 6 is for the junglers. So a little bit of fighting on the top side, but nothing too crazy. How important it really is for Wei. Obviously he hasn't burned any of these flashes early on, but that Cataclysm is going to come up before the flash of any of these members. That's just how it works. So as long as you go in and you don't immediately die, things will be A-okay. Shouldn't going to hop on this dragon with the rest of the JDG bot side because they have priority. They'll clear out the ward. The first dragon, 6 minutes into the game, will be there.
Yeah, and I think that just fits, to be honest. They are really far ahead down on the spot side, right? Even though the Virus opts into a tier early on and effectively is behind on combat power, if anything. The power that Jun has currently with that tunneler being picked up is quite strong. And just with where we see as well, TheShy needing a little bit of support on that top side because Xiaoshu is playing this level 6 Renekton, and means that his lane is now, honestly, not the worst thing in the world. He's probably going to get poked down by the Aurora, but shouldn't ever feel like they are within kill range. And now for JDG, it's about making sure that they can start to extend the pace of this game, because I sort of want to reconsider and revise my earlier sort of notion of the scaling. I do want to think that IG are probably going to scale a significant amount better into this game between the power of a Victor and the power of a late game Jhin. And just the team fight nature of this IG composition. It's JDG that are a little bit pressed to make something happen in the early stages. Unfortunately for Jun, he's already done that. But again, it's about whether or not they can continue with that trend.
And it's really the team fight nature of the game, right? There's just a lot more skirmishing this year. Obviously, there was more early on in the year when we had 2 sets of grubs. Now with 1 set of grubs, it's slowed down a little bit early on, but it is still a faster pace than it has been in the past. Xiaoshu taking quite a bit of damage there, but he does have a null magic mantle, so he will be no worse for wear. The grubs are up in about 20 seconds here, and Shun is the only one near the top side. Meanwhile, Ray looking to do something down here, but looks like the wave is going to hold.
Hello.
Oh no, he just walked right into it, man. That is tough. Wei is on the way, but I think Rookie, he's forced to flash away. Scout wants a little bit more, and the shield falls off. He gets the job done. Did he do any damage to him is the question. I think he did, yeah. And Rookie will at least get credit for that one.
There'll be some leftover damage from the Chaos Storm or from a Rogue Laser that happened. It's a 1-for-1, and it's a good wave actually for Rookie down on that bot side. It's about who goes to collect it, really, more than anything. But it does mean that JDG are able to secure themselves some grubs. So again, you know, it's that trade-off, right? My Victor gets 20 stacks on his passive and progresses to another evolution that little bit faster. But the enemy team just got Void Grubs. So where do you draw the line? What do you define as worth? And I think that for JDG, they're probably the team that are coming out on the better end of that. TheShy now, though, definitely the focus of some attention from JDG is Wink, Jun, and Scout are all up here.
That wave is indeed stacked. Wink gonna flash on top. Meiko gonna try to save his boy, but is unable to do so and is now caught between 4 members. Wink gonna take a last turret shot. He will be able to survive. It's a nice play by JDG. Now Shun gonna go in there for round 2. Take him down. As you said, drop aggro. It's 3-0 for the JDG jungler.
Yeah, and unfortunately Meiko here just not really having the impact that you'd like from your Rakan. He gets in, gets CC'd, and by the time he actually pops the quickness and actually catches onto anybody, the rest of his teammate have already fallen. TheShy not really able to put out too much damage there either. Wasn't able to hold the wave, and as soon as we see one first stun come through from Xiaozhu, it's immediately followed up by Wink. These 2 new pieces of JDG that we said in game number 1 needed to facilitate their team a little bit better, finally starting to have that little bit of an output. Finally starting to see them make those plays that they were drafted into this composition to make.
Yeah, it took a game, but now they understand it now, you know? The guy who shoots the basketballs, I understand it now. That's exactly what's going on for JDG. So they have a 1,300 gold lead right now. They have secured the feat of warfare. They are looking for this last objective to secure feats overall. A minute and 25 seconds till this dragon, and Shun will be completely unchecked right now. He's 3-0. He's got the Spear of Shojin. If I'm IG, I am staying far away from the dog.
Yeah, as far away as possible, and you know, this is one of those comfort picks for June. Feels like he's one of the few junglers that will still pull this out even post nerfs of the Neferi, and you can see that already JDG starting to have that pack mentality as they're moving 3 people down onto this bot side. Rookie's going to know that something's up, and fortunately so do the rest of his team. Way on this bot side, you can see that Meiko's also making a little bit of a move down here. But as Way's looking to defend his bot lane, he's not able to defend his jungle camps, and the wolves have now been taken, the Gromp taken by June, and that lead that we talked about earlier on is completely flip-flopped as June has now taken the entire bot side in the face of Way, and forcing the jungler to EQ out of his own jungle is never a good sign.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing if Jarvan is kind of low econ, but this early into the game, A, pretty bad, and B, accelerating the economy of Shun, also very, very bad. IG need to find a way to actually deal with this, but I really don't think they can. Their solo laners are not strong enough at this point in the game. TheShy is just kind of wrapped up top. Gala is not strong. Really, Way just has to take it.
And this is kind of the concern that I was thinking with this top lane flex, right? I sort of highlighted it in the draft. Yes, TheShy can take this Aurora into the top lane, and it's given Rookie a good matchup in the mid lane. Don't get me wrong, he's now really the only part of IG that has some semblance of an advantage with this 20 CS lead. But it's come at the cost of this Renekton honestly having a pretty fine laning phase. TheShy already getting dove once, and Meiko not really being able to do anything about it. For IG, would like to see them as they're posturing around this dragon. Just give this up. It's not the worst case scenario if you have to give this away. You don't have first items, and Jun is just so strong.
Wink is ghosting. He's on his horse. But we'll do nothing more than clear out a couple of wards and shove IG away as JDG looks to prepare for the dragon here. He's over in the mid lane just clearing out some minions, but Gala is going to meet this wave, so nothing much for IG. They aren't able to get any sort of advantages. They just have to play the waiting game. They cannot fall too far behind. It's almost a reversal of what happened in the last game.
Yeah, it's about whichever one of these teams so far proves to pick the early game composition and importantly make it work. I think that there's a complete difference between picking an early game composition and making it work versus having an early game composition and then sitting back and losing slowly. JDG so far have done a pretty good job. 1k gold to the good. Neutral objectives going their way. They found all 3 grubs. They're going to find these first 2 dragons, and for the burden of execution, they are certainly executing right now.
Rookie's trying to find a way in, but he's met by Scout. Wink is also walking down to help out his boy Shun. Scout will be able to spot out this ward that's back here, so Shun is well aware that they know that he's there. Peyz and Wink able to walk in. Scout can heal up just a little bit, and IG say no way, as they will lose the second Drake and they will lose the feats.
Honestly, Yanni, that's good. Like, they were not going to win that fight. Like, it would have just been them walking in. Maybe they take away the dragon, but they would have lost so many members that it probably wouldn't have been worthwhile in the first place. And a little bit of restraint exercised by an LPL team when it comes to a neutral objective is, you know, it's a pretty big deal. So we should be celebrating the fact that IG here have decided that that dragon was not for them. as they move away now, and are going to need to take just that little bit more time to attempt to push forward and make sure that they've got some strength as this game does move later into this game. Not just taking any fight that they can, losing it and then losing the game that little bit quicker.
1 minute until the Rift Herald is up, and for IG, this is the part of the game where you start getting a little worried. Rift Herald can do so much for you. Go get a turret, give yourself mid-pressure. If, you know, they wait to throw it down until the next dragon is up, then it would put JDG on soul point. So being able to delay JDG as long as possible would be so big for IG.
Especially since, as well, you've got the Atacon spawning in 5.5 minutes as well, something to consider as Meiko. Well, Spellbook Cleanse was forced, but it's not the biggest deal in the world. His grand entrance to escape did get interrupted, so he has to use the Battle Dance to get over the wall. Either way, though, JDG once again posturing quite nicely on this top side. Peyz.
Peyz does have the flash available. He will flash away after Wink engages. Shun trying to get there quickly as these health bars are low. The Hail of Arrow is not going to slow anybody up, so IG is forced away, but this Herald is up.
Yeah, and I think that that's fine for the trade for now, right? 3.5 minutes until that next dragon, which is where IG should try to make their stand, and Peyz will have no flash for that. This is now a great big calling signal to the rest of the team. Okay, the enemy Varus has no flash. Please, can we focus him and try and take him down? Now then the question becomes, was that the right target to go for? Because, oh dear.
Rookie! Oh my god! That's a huge steal.
Yeah, it is. And you know, let's just walk it out. Let's take the wins where we get them.
No, we're gonna look for more here. We're gonna force a flash out of Scout too. This is all of a sudden pretty big for IG. 2 key flashes down, but the problem is Gala walked a little bit too far in front and is taken down by Peyz.
Well, just a series of really bad plays from a lot of our legacy players as well.
You praise the LPL, you praise IG for showing restraint, and then you see whatever this was. My eyes.
Yeah. That was okay. So Jun losing out on the Herald, just smite it. Okay, that's the rule number 1 of neutral objectives. Just smite them. Doesn't matter how free they seem. You never know what's going to come across a wall or seemingly from within your complete control of your vision. Either way, Rookie able to take away the Herald, and then Gala just stepping a little bit too close for a deadly flourish. Face checks Varus, who's got the Yomus and is more than happy to try and chain you down. That was a pretty egregious mistake from Gala as he ends up paying for it with his life as well. I mean, does Jun just early smite, or
no? It's up.
Yeah, it's just a quick old yoink.
Yeah, this is sometimes what happens when you play with your friends. You get a little too lax, you know. That is totally not the reason why. I don't know what happened there. All I know is Gala, brother. I know that you want to do something because the wave is pushed in, and you just want to do something with your hands. You should not do that.
It's one of those situations where you think, well, the Varus can't be on the map because you would be hitting mid-wave. But then you have to think, well, if the Varus, it has to be somewhere, you know? Like, just exercising a little bit of critical thinking has proven to be the downfall, and, you know, Gala pays for it. It says, you know, well, it is worthwhile to drop that bot wave if I'm going to be able to pick off the enemy ADC, as Gala ends up falling, and now we look forward into what this fight in 30 seconds, 40 seconds time may look like. Looking at those items across the board as well, we are starting to be at roughly parity, I would say, as we move into this fight. Our AD carries 1.5 items, mid laners as well, 1.5 items, couple of components. The real sort of outlier currently looking to be in that top side, where the Aurora actually has a pretty decent component versus just a longsword on top of that first item. But on the flip side, it's also Jun, who's got that really strong lead over Wei, an extra level as well, and will feel quite confident as they move into this Drake setup.
Smites away the blue buff from Wei, so full uptime for his mana and his spells. Rookie drops the Herald onto the bot side. I imagine that Shun will be ready and raring the smite this time around as the dragon has been started, but it will attack the dogs, so Shun is dogless right now. He does not have that dog in him. Teleports coming in from both sides on the mid wave is TheShy. Meanwhile, Curtain Call coming out, but Scout is going to blow up Meiko. He'll be able to hop away, but he does not live. But what a snipe coming through from Gala on the other side. TheShy getting pushed away. IG in there. It's a 3v3, but Tivers is doing a lot. Chains of Corruption does not land. Shun is in the thick of things looking for Rookie, but Wei will be able to drive him off. Dragon down, 4,000. Wei goes all the way in. They manage to find a kill. Shun will fall.
Rookie!
IG wins the fight. IG will take the Dragon and will breathe a big sigh of relief.
And it's a massive fight from the IG mid-jungle duo once again linking up to set up this skirmish. It's no flash from the play 3 minutes ago on Peyz, which means he falls. And despite the fact that it's now up and available, through that fight around the Dragon, there was nothing that the Varus could do. The second he gets in range of an EQ flag and drag into the Cataclysm, it's just curtains for him. The Chaos Storm goes down, TheShy is constantly toying and teasing on the flip side as well. And this is a really slow burner for the Jhin, as he just sort of waits, biding his time, making sure that he can actually take down Wink, and threading it round, taking down the Rel. As Xiaozhu dashes off to this top side, this Renekton now not really a part of this fight. A great flash from Rookie brings Jhin just a little bit too far forward, and the Dragon in this fight is actually doing overtime in favour of IG, constantly doing the damage that they needed onto the carries. The late flash away means that Jhin will ultimately fall as Rookie now caught out.
Yep, Rookie dying on a side lane here. It is tough. He's going to give gold over to Scout. So a second kill for him immediately after IG makes a nice play. This happens, and it looks like they will lose Otacon.
Peyz, though, in the mid lane has got flash back up, because he actually might look to try and dice a little bit with JDG and with IG looking at that Rift Herald. Are IG looking to contest? The Otacon actually gets peeled away from us. Looks like TheShy might have been in a little bit of a rogue spot.
She's going to pop that ultimate. TheShy trying to hop away. The slice, no dice, but the stun comes out. Right on top, Meiko. What an ultimate from Wink. A big stun to follow it up, too. And JDG is running this fight. TheShy gets stunned. Wei dies on the backside. And without their mid laner, IG falls apart.
Yeah, no Rookie, no fight there. And it's a complete whitewash as JDG destroy IG as they tried to peel away from the Otacon, successfully so, and managed to pick themselves up. Is that 3 kills in the long run as Meiko called for the quickness, and then he gets CC'd, wasn't ever able to use that grand entrance to chain a knock up, and now Rookie TP's down to that bot side and looking for a kill onto Scout.
This is problematic. Okay, he'll get the shield out. Scout gets very low, but manages to live. Turret goes down in favor of Rookie, so the mid and bot lane of IG recovering a little bit. The gold lead is even, but it's a game of inches right now, Roodood, and that Otacon could make a bit of a difference.
And that's when we have to look back to what our theories of the composition were. But we'll take a look at this fight once again. It's Meiko, right? Quickness into immediate CC chain, into Wink. 4-man Magnet Storm, and a 3-man Shattering Strike off the back of it as well. Gala knows the second that happens, okay, Cleanse Flash, I need to get out of here. This fight's already over. But I do want to highlight, right, you talked about this game being very dead even in terms of that gold. How do our scaling advantages weigh into this situation? And for me, Rookie still, despite that slight pick on the side lane, is going to be the biggest threat in this game on the Victor. Should be able to handle the majority of JDG's pressure, as he can put the gravity well down onto somebody diving on him. He can use the movement speed from his evolved Q to keep himself a little bit safe, and the shield that it provides as well to keep himself at arm's reach. And that, you know, for me is a pretty big boon, a pretty big deal. As IG looks to set up, they managed to steal away one of those dragons earlier on. And you know, they're not pressured to take this fight around the next one, but I do think that with 3 items in the works for Rookie, they'll be quite happy to try and take any fight that he's a part of.
Yeah, I think JDG just need to find a way to end this game quickly, right? Just get far enough ahead that it's too much for IG to overcome. And on the side of IG, they just need to not put themselves in a position to have that happen to them. They played so tightly in that mid game and were able to bring it back, but then have gotten very lackadaisical since then. And especially Rookie on the sideline, just having so much trouble right now. He's strong, but he's not that strong.
Can't really handle the 2-item Renekton with that Stride Breaker. Going to be a little bit of a break point for the time being, where the Renekton's still favoured, but A slightly longer, slightly more drawn-out fight. Maybe when one more item comes through, Rookie going to be A-okay to try and take those skirmishes. For the time being, though, Xiaozhu working his way through this top turret. Remember that JDG did end up securing the Void Grubs in this game, so taking these neutral turrets are going to be quite easy and take a little bit less time than you might have anticipated, as Wei now spotting out JDG walking through this jungle.
He's going to take some damage there, but there's no follow-up to be had. He will get rooted. As Rookie walks his way in, he does have his flash available. It looks like everybody is here. Scout over on the side, forced to flash away. And now Wei's going to go after him. Can TheShy get in there and do enough damage? He's going to go between worlds, and they find the pick that they wanted. But the question is, can they escape? Teleport coming in. Peyz over on the side, and now he's got to deal with Wei. Meanwhile, TheShy in a 3v1, he falls. But Peyz, the Rookie, comes over and causes some problems. He's low. The root doesn't land. Shun trying to dance around, but Peyz is going to fall. The knockup not quite there because Shun went untargetable, and he's still alive, and he's still damn strong as they're going to look for more. But the Renekton's going to fall and turn into a pair of boots as Meiko will take him down, and the lone survivor Shun has to limp away.
And it's again a great pick. It's that mid-jungle duo once again for IG stepping up. Instead of it being the Aurora in the mid lane, it's actually coming from TheShy. So kudos to Wei for setting it up, this time linking up with his solo laner in the top side to knock down Scout, who was not a part of that fight. And any skirmish where your Tibbers isn't just constantly being a nuisance to the enemy backline is one that you're going to struggle with. Scout flashes early and then gets caught in the Cataclysm. And I think that TheShy actually, you know, by and large, plays this pretty darn well, puts himself in a little bit of trouble afterwards. But it's a knock-up from Wei, a really good flash to try and catch out, and then TheShy goes between worlds, finishes off Scout, but then I think actually going back through here costs him dearly, as you might have thought he'd be able to get over and play this 2 versus 1 quite nicely with his jungler, but Peyz having to flash over that wall to be a part of the fight in the first place, and also getting caught in the pit by Rookie. You'll see this laser in the end just catches him, the Blackfire Touch able to take him down. And a great flash over the wall from Rookie keeps himself safe. But all the while here, this is just a case of IG having a numbers advantage. They took this fight 5 versus 4, and now Peyz is dead again.
He's got no flash, and he will pay for it. Positioning issues abound for the JDG AD carry of this game. And IG have roared back to life, and they have their eyes set on the Baron.
And with no Varus, you know, that poke threat is significantly weaker. Would like to see them take this without too much concern, especially with the Malignants on the Yanni being down, but instead they're going to turn for more kills.
Yep, Gala's going to land that root. Now they're going to look for a couple more targets. Meiko will be able to charm up Scout, and he is deep and dead. Meiko looking for more knockups, not going to find him, but there's the curtain call coming through to slow them up and try to land a snipe, and he does it again! Gala does it again! He's putting on a show back there! And now it's your Renekton in the middle of 5. A triple kill for Gala. It ain't canon because it ain't a quadra, but he played it damn well.
And that's incredible for Gala to have this performance in game number 2. Stepping up for his team, and honestly the entirety of IG this time round have looked very, very scary. They came out of this early game and came into this series for me as potential underdogs, as you know, seeing as whether or not Wei would be able to hold a candle to the powerhouse that is the JDG jungler Jun, and in game number 1 he absolutely did. In this game number 3, or game number 2, has been instrumental in the mid game, has been constantly looking for picks, constantly finding people out, and once again Peyz caught out a little bit too far forward, but scouted out by this jungler, by Wei, who got brought into this IG roster to add a little bit of something new. He does exactly that.
He was a little quiet early on in this game, especially on the Jarvan, but any time flashes have been down, he has been the dog instead of Shun. He has been on top of these members. You take a look, Gala putting him down. IG in a game that they really should not have been a part of. JDG was unable to push their advantage deep enough and made some critical mistakes, Scout and Peyz specifically, and find themselves staring down the barrel of a very strong IG.
Baron at their backs now, potentially putting themselves in a very good position to take down these inner structures Way you can see just lurking over the wall. No flash still.
They're stuck. They're stuck in the Cataclysm and they can't get out. TheShy takes out Shun. Now Scout over on the side will burn his stun on TheShy. Meanwhile, Xiaoshu trying to get back there, but Wei is going to flag and drag out. Scout goes in, lands a big stun. They find the Jin, and Xiaoshu is looking for more. He finds TheShy. Could be the throw of the century, Roodood, as Rookie is stuck. The laser on the Wink, it's not going to kill him, but Meiko comes back in. Rookie's still alive. He's still standing, but Xiaoshu, the MVP of this fight, comes up huge for JDG.
Takes a double kill and actually thwarts their push into the base. Keeps his team's hopes of this game alive and cashes in a major way here. Many shutdowns getting picked up for the Renekton. Maybe would have liked to have seen them gone on to somebody better, but unfortunately all of the rest of his team were dead. He was the best recipient given the situation they're in. It does look good here to start off for IG. I will credit once again Wink with another 4-man crashdown or Magnet Storm combo, just slowing the engage for IG. And then it's Scout who spots here a nice clump of the double bot lane duo from JDG, puts Gala down, and Meiko once again dancing around this fight. Able to constantly provide just a little bit extra CC. You know, Peyz here looking for Rookie. Knockup comes through. Keeps the Victor safe. Enough time for him to cast one more Q, get one more shield, and take down the Varus. So Meiko, for me, you know, the MVP of keeping that fight as close as possible. For the time being, Invictus Gaming still far ahead, still with the turrets that they were able to take, and still with complete control over this river. They will find themselves this Drake. It's not going to be sold just yet, but certainly something for JDG to consider as we move into the next 5 minutes.
And I want Wei to once again just look for these flashless targets. That last fight, Peyz's flash came up and it was actually massive. While he did get trapped for a little bit, Wei was a little too far forward. They didn't have the burst. Peyz was able to drop his ultimate, and everybody on IG had to scatter. And that was the big difference maker that bought so much room for Xiaoshu, and nobody was there to help out some of these lower health members. So this time around, I mean, Peyz, I don't know how safe he's going to have to be, but wherever he thinks he can step up, he should stay back even further and just wait for these flashes to come back up. Play for this next dragon.
The Scout here with no flash, looking for an angle onto Rookie, who's once again stuck around, but unfortunately JDG elected not to go for the play. They could have collapsed and maybe found Rookie, but they would have probably lost a lot on the rest of the map as well, or maybe ended up seeing the collapse come through. As IG staying with their attention on that top side, it's the one remaining turret outside of the base that JDG have got left to hang on to. Contains quite a bit of gold as well. Now looking at those junglers, credit to Wei here, opting for that Guardian Angel, so it doesn't matter who he gets penned in the Cataclysm with. If they take him down, odds are he's going to have the time to get into his GA and then his EQ back up, as Jun now caught, but goes invulnerable. Meiko here kind of wasting the ulti.
That Wei will show no fear as TheShy. And a little bit of trouble with Shun is looking to run these guys down. Wink takes a big forward shot between worlds coming from TheShy. Wei coming in from the side. They're going to focus down Wink and he's going to fall. Guardian Angel going to get popped. Big damage on the backside. It's going to force Shun away. Wei is back up, and now that's going to mean a 5v4 for the next 35 seconds as this top inner turret falls.
Losing Wink, not the biggest deal here for JDG. They've still got the damage and the range coming through.
They're going to target out Scout. He doesn't have that flash, and he's going to fall. Wei is still alive. Somehow, some way, he will flag and drag out. The fourth shot puts Shun down, and now they're going to look for Peyz. Xiaoshu trying to make another hero play. He is going to find TheShy, but he will only find death. Another triple for Gala, and that should do it.
Wave coming through on that top side. They're just going to corral these minions in. 30 seconds on any of the carries for JDG. Wink is here, but he's not going to be able to do anything here. He's got an entire wave to try and take out.
He flashes to the side. He gets knocked up. Unofficial quad for Gala, just how a Jin would draw it up. And IG, a 2-0 victory over JDG. The first one in dominating fashion. This one a little harder, but they weathered the storm well.
And that's really good for IG. I'm very excited by this roster so far through the early season. They took Top Esports to 3 games. They've had a really good series here versus JDG. And, you know, worth mentioning that their first series out was potentially a little bit shaky. They were up against up under the collar, up against an FPX roster who we don't have particularly high expectations for. That took them to 3 games, and coming into this series, they were dead even on their game score, but a 2-0 here is actually very, very impressive, and really does bode well for IG. And I think that if Wei can continue with this trend of being a pretty formidable jungler, IG have got something really good to hang on to.
Yeah, I don't think an MVP this game, but damn good, for sure. So I have to give him all the credit in the world. I think if that Rift Herald goes the way of JDG, this entire game is different. But for IG, remember, we saw it in this game. They're not even playing perfectly, right? We're seeing Rookie still get caught out on side lanes. They kind of overcooked in the top lane with TheShy, with that Aurora pick. It didn't really have, I think, the necessary effect they wanted early. It was good later on, was able to enable some roots to come out from Gala, but these solo laners still not playing to the peak of their powers that we know. So if they can really improve that, get that extra 5 to 10% better, this team will be one to watch out for, will contend for that second spot, just like they did in Split 2. And who knows, maybe they could shock AL.
Yeah, and I mean the IG squad here that we see in this series is a vast contrast from what we saw just on the opening day when they had that first series. But I think that looking at how well they battled back in this game is a really good showcase for what they can do. And I mean, again, comes down to what we were expecting for their composition, right? Where they were looking to scale a little bit, where they were looking to have that little bit more free time. And I'd actually challenge you on the point that the Aurora didn't do what it was supposed to. I think that the Aurora was supposed to make way for the Victor pick, which was actually instrumental. And the fact that they were allowing Rookie to play a Victor in a comfortable matchup proved to be the reason that they won this game. They had this Victor who was freely scaling up through the early game, had a very good laning phase, and then was able to carry back in team fights. I think that TheShy would have been more than happy to just have to sacrifice a little bit of his own personal agency in that game for the sake of such an easy ride, really, when Rookie just gets to 2 items. You
know what? You're right. If it's a draft smurf, doesn't even matter. And even then, in-game later on, it was really, really good. He got to go pair up with Wei a lot with these between worlds, along with the Cataclysm, getting onto the right side of people, dealing a bunch of damage, getting them low, bursting them out. So lane-wise, a little tough. Got dove, as you said earlier. But, yeah, you know what? You're right. He brought a lot of room and will be the unsung hero, perhaps. Now, I said that I wasn't sure about Wei getting MVP. You made a bit of a face, so I want to know your thoughts on a potential MVP here.
I don't know who else we'd be looking at. We could give it to Gala. I think that Wei, though, again, was one of those big-ticket players for IG huge. This game. He was picking people out. He was the reason that we saw Peyz go down around the Dragon. He was the reason that we ended up seeing a couple of picks onto Peyz in the mid-game that allowed them to really snowball. I think you could make an argument for Gala for having some really solid team fights. You can make an argument for Rookie for having some really solid team fights. But again, I think that the reason that they won this game was Wei's job and being able to find those picks with the Cataclysm. So I wouldn't be against any of those 3 really being elected as the player of the game. And I think that if Wei gets it for a second time in a row, so be it. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, if Wei gets it, I'm not going to be upset. Now, I'll challenge you on the Gala point. I think Gala had a great game. But I don't think that Gala had to do anything spectacular. He had some great snipes. Don't get me wrong. But I think that what Rookie did in this game kind of trumps that a little bit. Stealing that Rift Herald, I think, was the difference maker in this game. I think that JDG, if they use it well, they go and they get that 3rd dragon. Then they go and they take out a turret on top of it. I think they could be too far ahead. Now, obviously, that would require them to play the fights really well, play the setups really well. And as for Wei, as you said, picking these guys off, that's fantastic too. I think it matters what you weigh, no pun intended, a little bit more heavily against the other.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a valid justification, valid argument for both sides, and honestly, why we sometimes do see that there are some discrepancies between what people on our desk end up going for and what the official broadcast end up going for as well.
Ethical voting.
Ethical voting, amen. And I think that for the most part, as well as we do rattle through these highlights, you do get to see that this game wasn't completely smooth sailing for IG, right? Like, JDG definitely pushed them to a pretty decent extent. And again, Jun having a pretty decent performance on the Neferi this time round. It's good to see that we saw something from him in this game, whereas previously in game number 1 it was completely different. But I mean, there are 2 different instances where Wei shouldn't have lived, and yet he does. He's just able to walk out to safety, and it's that constant management of your own knowledge of the game, right? Like, how much damage can these 2, 3, 4 champions and a turret do to me at all? Like, what are they capable of doing, and are they able to take me down? If I recognize no, then I'm going in.
Tough for JDG, right? Obviously, as you said, shouldn't had a good showing, but I think Peyz and Scout did not look very good in this series. Like, it was game 1. I kind of throw that out because everybody did not play well, right? It's whatever. But this particular game, I mean, Scout, I think his biggest play was here when he lands that double stun. Like, there wasn't any crazy big Tibbers plays. Obviously, his flash was down for a lot of this game. Peyz had that misposition at that bottom side fight where he had to flash over the wall into Tri-Brush into the face of Jarvan, and other positioning errors earlier in the game that really made it so he was a non-factor in some of these big fights.
Yeah, Peyz had a really tricky game, and I think that my concern currently is that I'm just a massive Annie hater. I think that any player that picks Annie just puts themselves in such a hole anyway, because you always go down farm, you always go down CS, you always feel pressured to make a play happen, so you end up losing out, and then that just makes your enemy mid laner look that much stronger.
And she's very linear too. Like, there's like, you know what an Annie is going to do in a fight. You know they're going to look for people to clump up. And you say, okay, we're not going to clump, so now you think, okay, as long as we have vision, we kind of know what target she's going to go for. She might only hit what's in front of her. If she drops her Tibbers what's in front of her, that's a winnable fight for you, even though you're getting engaged on. So, you know what? I can see why you're a bit of an Annie hater. I think if you're able to get the creative angles, it's great, but it is difficult against some of the best teams in the world.
Absolutely, and I think that, you know, I'd probably be happy just seeing Annie completely petered out of the meta, but it is what it is, and we'll see if she slowly progresses her way out of it. I think this is perfectly well justified, and probably exactly what it should be. Like, 96% kill participation as well.
That is a lot.
Like, Jarvan kind of skews it because he gets an assist for any time he puts his flag near people, but even still...
He wasn't getting assists for those. Like, he was, but, like... You can discount those, and this guy had a great game. Like, you're not saying, oh man, this guy was an assist farmer. No. He had that big impact in the game. You know, that's why I'm okay with it. Even though I would have probably selected it a little differently, I'm okay with it. All right, Roodood. So we've seen our first look at JDG. Initial opinion on them.
Requires work, which isn't a bad thing. I think that we saw some signs here, and I do think that Wink on the Rel actually didn't look particularly awful. Xiaozu as well didn't particularly look like he was costing them games on the Renekton this time round. But, you know, they were probably one of the reasons that game number 1 didn't go so well, so there's only fair that we get to see Peyz Scout have a particularly tricky game number 2 as well.
You know what? I agree with your assessment. They will have time to go fix things, but this was a bit of a rough start. They've twisted their ankle out of the gate. We'll see them get some ice, and then we'll see them later on in the week against Team WE, I believe, to cap off Saturday. So we'll see if JDG can fix a lot of their problems then and take advantage of a Team WE who is not looking great. Speaking of teams that might not be looking as good as we initially thought, Thunder Talk and LNG are next in Group Nirvana. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you for that matchup soon.